Right. So we had to find these things here. How do we find the length of the line? There's a real easy formula. X2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Right? Looking a little bit long, but real easy. Right? Every point will give you a x value and a y value. So we could call this x1, y1, and we could call this x2, y2. So how do we find the length of the line? The formula was that. So all we have to do is say x2, which is 5, x1, which is 2, y2, which is 6, y1, which is 1. And then work it out in calculator. Are you okay with that? X2 minus x1, y2 minus y1, square root of 3 squared plus 5 squared. Right? That is 9 plus 25, which is 32. Oh, watching up there, I thought somebody was. Somebody come on. Are you okay with that? That's all I want to understand the formula and how to read off points. Right? So we looked at how to find the length of a line. We also looked at how to find the midpoint on a line. Right? Because see the midpoint of AB. Right? Right. Midpoint of AB, real easy formula. You find in the middle, x1 plus x2 divided by 2, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. That's all. Add up the two values, divide by 2. Right? That's the way you find the middle. Right? It's called the midpoint. And example, our example there, add up the two x values, 5 plus 2, add up the two y values, divided. So you're getting what? 7 on 2, so you're getting 3.5, 3.5. Everybody okay with that? That's all. Yeah, know the formula, let's plug in the values. Did I handle that? Brad? Yeah. I mean, if you look at stressful out, that can help you. Right, and last thing is gradient. Gradient tells you how the line is sloped. Right? So gradient is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. It tells you how much the line is sloped. So all you have to do is plug in y2, plug in y1, plug in x2, plug in x1. Okay, and you're done. That's 5 over 3. Okay, that's what we learned last week. We also learned that parallel lines have what? Parallel lines have equal gradients, right? Parallel lines have equal gradients, and perpendicular lines, whenever you multiply them, you're going to get minus 1. Okay, that's all we learned last week. You stop writing. Okay, right, so let's copy it down and let's add on to some. I want to add on something to it. Right? Actually, I'm going to go over something here. Let's do over one of this again before I add on to something, right? Copy this down. This is what we did last, right? So most important things, the distance formula, the midpoint formula, and the gradient formula. Let's see over this again. Alright, online, write down those values. I'm gonna give you one to do, and then we add on something else. Well, leave it there. We all got number one right in our last one. The last quiz, we all got number one right. And the answer was positive two. Yeah. And she also positive two. Oh. Okay, now let's check in the responses. Right, so I just given you one. All I want to do for me is to find the distance, find the midpoint, find the slope. All right. Before we change it, sorry. Right, so use this value here, use 3, 4, and use 7, 6. Right, so I escaped the 6, 7 thing. 7, 6. Right, just as quick practice, finding distance, finding midpoint, finding gradient. That one. Right, find the length of the line. So all you have to do is you can use this x1, y1, x2, y2. You can use that, or you could use come on. Have I linear? But that is good enough. Okay, ready? Oh, finish the line, fine. Yeah, all right, a little slow. That's easy, but. Oh. That's easy, but, right? Hurry up. Right, quick. Right, so remember this is x1, x2, y1, y2, right? Right, Tanisha, x1 plus x2 divided by 2, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Finish? Right? We can round off the value because of bad square roots, right? Right, in my handwriting bad. Take my time. So you should have this, right? Nice, a nice curve here, right? X2 is 7, nice. Finish this good. Minus 3 all squared. Y2 minus y1 all squared. So that's the square root of 4 squared plus 2 squared. Right? Finish this good? Yes, say yeah? Okay. So that's 16 plus 4 is root 20. You can leave your answer like that, right? Then find your gradient, find your midpoint, and giving you 1.3 minutes again. Because again, true. Because they want to bring some come up. That was cool. I'll conclude. I won't be here, but the next week I might be here to do some festival. I'll tell you. But I know it might be one tangible Saturday, so we had to make sure I have class. Make up a tangible Saturday. Okay. I know a little big, I know 1 o'clock Saturday. Ready? So what is the midpoint? X1 is 3, x2 7 over 2, y1 4 plus 6 over 2. So I am getting 5, 5. Yeah, 5, 5. Lastly, gradient is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I have 2 over 4, which is a half. Everybody okay with that? Right. Just one thing I want to point out before I move on. If I were to give you a parallel line, what would be its gradient? Parallel lines have equal gradients. So if I give you a line parallel to this one, the gradient would also be a half, right? Because they're equal. But if they are perpendicular, then its gradient is what? Anybody who will say last thing? Amelia? Amelia. Minus 2, right? What should this do? Flip the value over and change the sign. So flip over a half, you'll get 2 and change the sign to negative. That's okay? Right? Please remember that, right? Parallel lines equal gradients, perpendicular, flip the value, change the sign. Everybody okay with that? All right. So this is kind of last week work. Now we reach today. Right? So head up the equation of a line. That's our focus, right? Equation of a line. Look at it. Do again. Everyone see what you did. It's a little tough, but anybody writing it? It's an equation of a line. Yeah, we do an equation of a line. Right. So we all know what it is, the y-axis, x-axis, right? Let's say I want to get the equation of a line. So let's say I draw a line like that. How do I get, like, for example, a name? A name, more than likely, or ID number is what makes it unique, right? If you have an ID number, I could always find it, right? The equation of a line is very similar. If this line has an equation, you could always draw that line or find that line. Okay? So what are the two important things that we need? To get the equation of a line, we need two things. Number one, we need to know how much it slopes, right? We need to know how much it slopes, and we need to know where it cuts the y-axis. If you have those two things, you could sketch or draw a line. Okay? So the equation of a line will always look like this. General form. The general form of a line is y is equal to mx plus c. Right? Every line is in that form. 1y equals mx plus c. Okay? So if you have the gradient and the y-intercept, you could find the equation of a line. All right? So what do we need to find? Number one, we need to find gradient. Number two, we need to find c. That's okay? Once you find gradient and you find c, we're good to go. Right? How do we find these things? What do we need is we need 2 points on the line. Right? If you have 2 points on the line, we can find gradient using this. And then we can find y-intercept by rearranging this. Okay? Anybody can help me out? You can make C the subject of the formula here. C is what? Right, y minus mx. Yeah, together. One. Oh, no. Yeah, Tanisha might complain too. So that's right. Plus and I'll leave a little space here, right? Okay. So how do we find gradient? That formula there. How do we find y-intercept? We take a y value, a x value, and the gradient. Okay? That's the equation of a line. Please recognize that the only way that we can read off gradient is if we have y as the subject. Y must be the subject, right? So if you see something like this, what do you think is the gradient? Is the gradient 6? No, because it must be y as the subject of the formula. So we have to divide by 3. Now we can say the gradient is what? And the y-intercept is minus 3. Everybody okay with that? So it must be 1y, y by itself. All right, so let's see if we can find the equation of a line. Right, this is one formula. Some people might learn this in school. There's a next version as well. Well, there are about 3 versions, but a next popular version some people use is this. Right, I'll show you both versions and you can decide which one you like, which one you don't like. Right, so please remember that, right? For us to get the equation of a line, we need the y-intercept and gradient. Always remember that, right? Let's find I want to do this first one here, right? So these are your points. If you want, you can label them x1, y1, x2, y2. What would happen? What would happen if I label this as x2, y2, and this as x1, y1? Would it change anything? No. Right? Stays the same. It don't matter, right? Whatever you use as x1 and y1 must always stay x1 and y1. Okay? Now, you catch it after. Wherever you use it, leave it like that, right? Copy it down and I will start it out. That's the other one to write. Copy it down and then I will do this example again. Right, so watch here. Gradient, get in the habit of just writing the formula and then substituting, right? Gradient is 7 minus 3 over minus 5 minus 4. I got 4 over minus 9. Right, so that's minus 4 and 9. How do I find C? I'm using that down there, y minus mx. So I'm using here, I'm using y and x, right? So y is 3, gradient is minus 4/9, and x is 4. So when I work this out, I got 3 plus 16 on 9. Right? 4 by 4 is 16, minus and a minus is plus. Okay? So I'll end up with what? What's this here? This is 4 and 7/9. Right? So your final answer is like this. Wait, let's convert it now. Let's convert it to improper. How much is that? 36. And but that's 43 on 9, right? So your final answer looks like this. Y is equal to m x plus c. Anybody get lost? I found the gradient. I put the gradient in here. I put y here and I put x here. Okay? You could also use this if you want. Anyone will work. Right? Once the point is on the line. Right? And I work this out. You can put it straight in the calculator and you should get this. When you reach here, you can leave it like this, or I want to make it look nicer, what to do? I can multiply everything by 9. Right? If I multiply everything by 9, I'll get 9y is minus 4x plus 40. That's okay? To make it look nicer. But remember, we cannot read off the gradient here. We can only read it off here. Okay? Right, copy it down. That's the equation of the line, right? Do the same thing again. Right, when you finish, find the equation of that line. Find the equation of this line up. One line. Any issues, top, right? Ashish Ganshu. Yeah. See that on a good day, right? Of that. Let's see if there's any quiz and what they do. Right, quiz load in there again. Quiz load in. One more quiz. Right, let's see what you got. Right, and then we're going to talk about some of the harder equations, right? When you see a vertical line, what does that mean, and so on, right? And you will write this. The next notes are going to give you write it in green or blue ink or red ink or something, right? Not blue, sorry. Right, it's a very important little note I'm going to give you. Because sometimes you see it and you'll get a little bit lost on what to do. Right, so as I said, y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1, I got 1/5. Yeah? Right, and now C, using the formula for C is y minus mx. So I use it here, y is 1, m is 1/5, x is minus 2. So I got 1 plus 2/5, right? Which is 5 and 2, 7 and 5. Right? It's always better to write the answers improper as opposed to a mixed fraction, right? So it's kind of the habit of writing it like this. So you'll get y is equal to mx plus c. To make it look nice, multiply everything by 5, Brad, and you will end up with 5y is equal to x plus 7. Okay, Brad? So far, you reached much, right? Okay, that's how you find the equation of a line. And as I said, if I said, Solomon, do my favor now, find the gradient of this line. The first thing you will do is divide by 5 and make it look like this. And then you will see the gradient is 1/5 and the y-intercept is 7 and 5. You cannot get it from here. You must make y the subject of the formula. Okay, right. So there are two equations that sometimes give us trouble. Right, I will do them on this line, right? So there are two equations of a line that you don't really have to do all that work, but sometimes give us trouble. So for example, if you were to draw a horizontal line and say, and the horizontal line passes through the point, let's say that point is 0, 4, right? Let's say that point is 0, 4, and we have a horizontal line, right? We need to be able to get the equation of that line. Right, just now, let's wait and then finish, right? Right? While you're waiting, think about what's the equation of that line. It's a horizontal line, so does it have any slope? Slope is 0, right? So if the slope is 0, see if we can figure out what is the equation. Think about it more while you're waiting on the others to cover it. Have no slope, the horizontal line, right? Right? What are the two things that you need to get the equation of a line? Slope and what? Y-intercept. So if you have no slope, slope is 0. What do you think is the equation of the line? Let's go with Crystal, you can see. Lucas. And what do you think? First answer, the slope is 0, right? So we know that the gradient is 0. What do you think is the y-intercept? You sure? Y-intercept is where it cuts the y-axis. Is this graph cutting the y-axis? Sure. That's the y. So it cuts the axis at what? Make the value right there. 4. Right? So that point there is 0, 4. Okay? Any single value here, x is 0. Any single value here, what is 0? Y is 0. Okay? every single point here, y is 0. Because on this line here, you have x values, you have no y values. This line here.
Not no y, so y open to.
Yeah. Here, have y values only, no x values. So, yeah. Right? So therefore, the y-intercept is 4. So Brad, since I have you there, what's the equation of the line? What's the equation of the line if the gradient is 0 and the y-intercept is 4? What do you think the equation of the line? Think about it. Remember the general form, y is equal to, what do you think the equation will be? 0 plus 4, very good. So the equation is y is 4. That's it. So every time you see a horizontal line, the equation of the line is y is equal to the point it passes through. That's it. Are you okay with that? Right? What does this say? This says that every single point on this line, it don't matter where it is, y is 4. And that makes sense? If you plot here, it will be x, y is 4. If you plot here, x, y is 4. Okay? Every single point on this line, y is 4. Are you okay with that? So once you figure out the point it passing through here, Levi, the equation is y is 4. Okay? If it's passing through a next point, let's say it's passing through 1. What's the equation of this line, Vashu? What's the equation of this line? Vashu is zone out. Levi, what's the equation of this line if it's passing through 1? Y is 1, right? Right, Vashu? I'm going to ask you again, I'm going to draw a next line, and that's yours. It's passing through 5. What's the equation of the line? 5. Just 5? Um, 5. Y equals 5. Nice. Thank you. Y is 5. Everybody okay with that? Copy it down. While you're copying down, you go and figure out this one. This one harder. I do the easy one. This line is passing through 3, 0. So write those and see if you could figure out what's the equation of this line. Fast to see what you have. Hey, let me somebody online. What I want to pick. Vanaya, yeah, I think so too. Vanaya. Vanaya, what do you think is the equation of this line here? What do you think is the equation of this line? And you can use a mic like last week. Vanaya. Hmm?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
What do you think is the answer?
0.
Hold on, one of the volumes low. I'm not sure. Message Adam is a short one. 0. Okay, that's a good try. Anybody else? Wanna try? What do you all think the equation is? This one was y is 4. Y is 1. Y is 5. What do you think this will be? X is 3. Right? X is 3. Every single point on this line, X is 3. Okay?
Or
X is 3. So the hint's real simple. If it's a horizontal line, y is equal to whatever it's passing through. If it's a vertical line, x is equal to whatever it's passing through.
it's like the line is
Right? What's this one is, Jacob? X is minus 4. Okay? X is minus 4, x is 3, y. So if you see these, don't get confused, right? And as I gave you all this last week, the gradient here is 0, the gradient here is infinity. Because that's all that's the largest possible slope you could end up with. And the largest possible value you have is infinity. Right? I did say there and try. Get your banana. Okay? Alright, so this is important that we could identify those two in particular, right? You guys are okay with that? Right? Write a small note in coloring or highlight it or probably want to recognize it after. Horizontal lines. Horizontal lines. Horizontal lines always have the gradient. Sorry, horizontal lines always have the equation y is equal to the value it is passing through. So horizontal lines always have the equation y is equal to the value it passing through, right?
the value.
It passes through. And the vertical lines, come on, and the vertical lines have the equation x is equal to the value passing through. Okay? The value it passes through. Once you have the value passing through, you're good to go.
So what is the value of?
So you see how this passes to minus 4? X equal to minus 4. See how this passing through 3? Right? So whatever value it passing through. Okay, whatever x value passing through. Everybody okay with that? All right. Hopefully, she'll complain there. I can help out. What does this mean? If I said perpendicular bisector, what does that mean? If I give you a line and I said find a perpendicular bisector, passes through the what? Middle, right? So it passes through the middle at what angle? At 90 degrees, right? So number one, it is perpendicular to the line. And number two, it passes through the midpoint. Right? So if I draw a line like this, that's the perpendicular bisector. Anybody here not on the WhatsApp group? Anybody here in the group? So whenever I ask you to find perpendicular bisector, you need to get the midpoint and the gradient of the perpendicular line. Okay? So perpendicular and then midpoint. All right? Copy that down. And let's try an example together. Actually, good.
So if we start with
Passing on it.
copy on there.
I think he love him. Passing on there, I think.
So for the low pass, yeah.
He didn't play this, he didn't play this. Ready? Right, so I want you to find the perpendicular. Find the perpendicular bisector sorry, find the equation. Find the equation of the perpendicular bisector. Through the points, right? Through the points 2, 1 and 5, 4. All right. So we're going to find the perpendicular bisector. 2, 1 and 5, 4. Points. Done. The marker, sometimes the marker is give trouble and that's up behind right. Ready? Or should I make it now? I'll make it do it for yourself, right? Here's what we need. Number one, we need midpoint. So we need midpoint. Midpoint here, we can use the midpoint formula. 2 plus 5 over 2. Actually, I don't want to give you, I could change it, or then start it, right? I just change it. I don't want to give you too much fractions to work with out here, right? 3, 2. Right? So that's 3 plus 5 over 2. 2 plus 4 over 2. 8 on 2 is 4. 6 on 2 is 3. So the midpoint is 3, 4. That's this point here. Now let's find the gradient of these two. Gradient will be 4 minus 2. 5 minus 3. So the gradient is 1. Question. What's the gradient of the perpendicular line? What will be the gradient of the perpendicular line? Negative inverse, right? Therefore, gradient of a perpendicular line is -1. Right, Brad? Flip the 1 over and change the sign. Everybody okay with that? That will be the equation. Sorry, that will be the gradient. How we get the equation now? Real easy. We know the gradient. Therefore, equation of perpendicular bisector is, we know the gradient. Gradient is -1. Just to find C. C is y minus mx. Right? And we know the point that is passing through. So we're using 3 minus 1, 4. This will be 3 plus 4, which is 7. So the answer is y is equal to minus x plus 7. Everybody okay with that? Right? And we stop there before the quiz. Right? Yeah. I'm going to give you a quiz now. Right? Right? So whenever you have 2 points, find the midpoint, then find the gradient and do negative reciprocal. And then you're done. Right? Try that there, please. Hurry up. Right? Do this please online. I am setting up quiz on coordinate geometry. Try that please. Right? Check on the group. I sent a quiz online. Do that please. Right? And that's it, right?